Welcome to live stream number 189. A little early here, the clock is ticking. If you're watching the recording, I absolutely would not blame you for fast forwarding. This is just to give people a chance to get into the live stream. I can see we're already on the YouTube. Let me just quickly here just update. Isaac is here. Absolutely good to see you, Isaac. It's good to be back. I've been gone last week. Looks like we are live on the Facebook also. So no excuses. We are here. Good to see you all. Thank you for taking the time. It is July 30th, 2018, and today's topic: what's new Fusion 360 for July 2018? Because last week while I was out, Fusion pushed out a new update. You might have seen the update video done by Bryce, Aaron, and Marty. Great video over on the Fusion 360 channel. I'll just try here on the live stream just to maybe go a little bit further, a little bit more in depth. They're kind of like, going fast on a time deadline here. Talking about deadline, 2 minutes and 46 seconds till we are jumping right into to the countdown. So, I can see we already got people in. Like I said, Isaac is here on the YouTube. Primarily, I have to admit that I'm looking on the YouTube. Ben, Damon, absolutely appreciate you guys taking the time. Let's see if we can see what we got over on that window on the Facebook. See, we got a few people watching over there too. Cool. All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. This week should be 5 live streams this week. We should be back in action. People sometimes email me about topics, so I thought I would give you what I'm planning on doing. It's not 100%. I only have a certain amount of time to prepare for these, but tomorrow I want to talk about how to model inside of Fusion 360 if you want to reuse your designs. Some people... I'm talking a lot here about your modeling style should be whatever you're comfortable with. Don't worry about the right way. But if you got to reuse your design, there might be some better practices for that. That's tomorrow. Wednesday, we're going to try to do a best questions and answers. I'm sorry for you guys who have emailed me and you haven't received an answer. It is my goal one day to catch up. I try to answer as many as I can, but of course, I also try to create this kind of stuff. And Thursday, well, one of the big things in this release is customizable shortcut keys. I'm going to show you that just in a second. Thursday, I will show you my preferred shortcut keys. I'm going to try a new setup here in the live stream. Hopefully that works. And also on Friday, hopefully I can go through the video I released last week where I used a drag knife on the Stepcraft and actually show you kind of like how I programmed that. Got some requests for that. So that is, that's this week's. I hope that's useful. 73 people in the live stream and we're still ticking down. 30 seconds, we'll get going. Also, another thing I thought I would share with you. Next week, there's not going to be any live stream. I will be in Plano, Texas. By the way, down in my description area of this video, you can find my email address. So if you want to hear more about these events, I'll give you some information. The week after, the following 2 weeks after next week, I will be in California, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. Then August 30th, I will be in Seattle. And then I think I'm not traveling until the end of September, what will be Milwaukee. You know what? The clock is at 0. It's enough for me as I talking. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch these live stream. It's good to be back. All right, let me just get rid of the clock here because we don't really need that. And let's get going with today's topic. And I keep on hitting the wrong button here. Whew. It is hard being me, I guess. Haha. Hang on. All right. Let's see if this works now. There. Hi, everybody. I can't take a week off. My name is Lars Christensen, and thank you so much for taking the time to join today's live stream. It is live stream number 189, and today's topic is what's new with Fusion 360 July update. Last week, I was in Montreal and Boston, and while I was there, the development team decided to come out with a new release, what is absolutely awesome. And that is what we are going to talk about today. I'll show you what's new. Like I said earlier, I know that Bryce, Aaron, and Marty does a great job showing what's new, but you know what? Why don't we go a little bit maybe slower into this, and we can talk a little bit more about it. If you want to get in depth, you have an option. You can go up here and click on the little question mark up here, and there is a what's new document that Ki-Ching, who's in Portland, he writes that, and it's really, really great, so you can read all in detail. But like I said, my attempt, if I do a decent job, and you be the judge in the comment area, thumbs up, thumbs down, maybe a little bit more in depth chat about these new enhancements. So the first one that is definitely something that a lot of people have requested is customizable shortcut keys. So we have, of course, had shortcut keys in the past. We've talked about them. If you look next to a command, you see a T for trim, or O for offset, or D for sketch dimensions. This was all customizable, or this was all hotkeys you could hit on your keyboard and create that. Now you can customize them. So how does that work? It works that anytime you go next to a command, you will get 3 small dots. If you click on that, you will get that you can either pin it to a toolbar. So this was released in the last release. You could either pin it to a toolbar or to a shortcut. That is not new. What is new that you can now change to a short keyboard shortcut you can create. So the way you do that, if you click here, you will get this short keyboard change keyboard shortcut, it's called. And you can now go ahead and create your own shortcut key. So for example, if you click here, you can make it Y, and you can set that. Now this is the first iteration of this, so you're gonna see a lot of changes coming down the road on this. But you know, just for now, if we change it to Y and I hit OK, I open up a sketch. Select the plane, hit Y, you will now see I'm in the 2-point circle command. And if we go down and hit sketch, we're going to circle, you will now see that that has a Y within it. Now if we go down one further down and click on the 3 dots and go in and click on change shortcut key, and we for example decided to change to C, you will see that you get notified that there is a conflict because C is right now is right now assigned to center diameter circle. If you continue, the shortcut will be removed from the center diameter circle. So let me just hit cancel for a second, cancel, and go down again. So you will see here by default C was created for center diameter circle. If we now go down, click on the 3 dots, click on change keyboard shortcut, and again hit C. So if I go ahead now and hit OK, I am taking from center diameter circle and deleting that and turning it into the 3-point circle. So I'm going to hit OK for that. And now if we go to sketch, circle, you will see that what you've been used to center circle has now been assigned. So this is how you can assign these. Now, if you don't like what you have done, you can click on the change shortcut key and you can say reset to default. Hit OK, and now you will see that everything is back to where it was with that one. It actually doesn't look like it reset. It just resets it for that command. Okay. So that is how you can go ahead and get rid of them again here. Now if we go in now and hit C for circle, nothing happens because we eliminated it. So actually, that's interesting. This might actually be a little bit of a bug. I would have thought that it would have put C back on center circle. So there you go. That might be something. Reset to default should have been back to the default. So we might just discover that. This is the great thing. And now it works. This is the great thing about coming out with these updates and coming out with them fast, is that sometimes they gotta work on things. Kiching put that in the blog post that if you know that this is the kind of like the first iteration of this. So definitely be aware of that. But another thing I should show you is that if we go back into this one again, 3 point, is you can also add things. So we could do Shift C, and you could actually add that in there. So now, if we just hit C for circle, we should get the center diameter. If we hit Shift C, then we get the 2 point. So that is pretty cool. So you can do that. You can add in of here. You can add multiple, like command on a Mac or whatever you want. Though be aware of, there's certain things you cannot add in here. Like you cannot add Control Z, for example, or Control S, because those are overridden by most softwares as well. Control Z is undo and Control S is save for Windows and Mac. So just be aware you can't do that. But like I said before, click here and you can restore back to default, but should bring hopefully most of the stuff back to Sarah. Though we just saw we had to add the Z there. I'm gonna have to bring that up with the development team, but it's all cool. This whole thing is brand spanking new. They're gonna add more to it, and on Thursday I will share with you. Some of you guys not gonna care about this, some of you power users, but if you are new, you might be interested in my favorite shortcut keys, and I'm gonna give you those. I think we're gonna do that on Thursday. I think would be a good day to do that. Another thing that we maybe should talk about while we're in here, and I can add some new stuff, is that you might just wonder what some of the other two options that are in here, pin to toolbar and pin to shortcut, what those do. So let me show you that. If we go into circle and we go back into the 2 point circle we're just working with, if I say pin to toolbar, see how it added it up here. So I used to do this a lot when there were certain commands I used a lot, and you could pin them to the toolbar up here, and when you do that, you will see that we're kind of like adding to the menu. This is nice if there's certain commands that you find that you're using a lot, right? So you can add those up here, and you can see I can just keep on adding as many of these oops, not shortcut to the menu as I want. What is new also in this release is that if you did this and built out your toolbars, it used to be that your drop down would have the full width of the toolbar, but now they have actually sized it up, so the drop bar will never get wider than the drop bar here. It will not take the long extent to here, so that might be good to know. By the way, if you don't want these anymore, you can just hold down and drag them off the menu. That's one of the ways you can get these back. So be aware you can customize the menus. Now the last one you saw in the free dotted menu here is pin to shortcut, and that is the S key. Now I talked about the S key before. So if you hit S on your keyboard, you get like this menu up here, and this menu you can add components to that. So for example, if we know that we do a lot of sketch scaling, just to pick something completely random, if I click on that and say I want to add it to my shortcuts here, then when I hit the S key, you will see that that is now right here. You could also search within the S key, and that will search any available command. So if I, for example, do something like project, you will see that you can find anything that has project or PRO in it. So project to surface, or proto labs. And if you hit this little one, that will also be added to that shortcut key. Same thing as with the menus, that when you don't want things in the shortcut key anymore, you can just drag them off the menu. Now, a little pro tip, or whatever you want to call it, in this shortcut menu, that will actually change depending on what you are in, what thing you're in. So right now we're sketching, but means it will have a sketch constraint. But if I hit like Q for press pull in here, and I hit my S key, whoops, get that dimension. That's not what I want to do. If I hit my, in here, you will see that now I'm in the model shortcuts, and it will change. So it will actually react depending on what kind of workspace you're in. If I go to the patch, hit the S key, now we're in the patch shortcuts. So that S key will appear depending on if you're in a sketch or if you're in a model environment. S for shortcut, and it will open up for that. I used to fill this one up with commands. I used a lot as I kind of came across it. So if I was modeling and suddenly I was like, oh, I forgot about this one, then I would, or I couldn't find a menu, I would add it in here, and then, I don't know, when this menu got huge, I would kind of like clean up. Okay, enough of that. I hope this, we're gonna come back to menus just in a second. There's some other stuff in here, but let's just open up a new document. I hope that was useful. Another thing that have been added is a control point spline tool. That's a new function. Let's talk a little bit about splines. So let's start a new sketch, create a new sketch. And let's go in and select a standard spline, fit point spline, what you have normally seen inside of Fusion. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to place 3 points. Boom, 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 and hit the little green check mark. We have talked about splines before. Splines is those that has kind of this where you can grab these handles like this. You can add points, but normally what we kind of like playing around with is these different spline points here. I always talk a lot about that. A good practice with splines is to actually use the constraints over here. So I will go in and select a line here, for example, make it horizontal is a good thing. So now it can move up and down. So that's a way you can kind of constrain these. You can use origin relationship to this point, and you can kind of play with these here. But what is new is a control point spline. If I select that one, and normally with control point spline, you are actually clicking on more points. So I'm actually going to click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 3 to place that one. Actually, maybe I should. Let me just undo that. Let me make it a little bit bigger, so they're kind of like not on top of each other. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what we have now is we have our old spline type sitting down here, using this one here. If you ever use splines, you are familiar with these handles. A control point spline is using these handles instead to control a spline. Now the advantage of that is you have a lot more control of the spline. It's easier to control it, I should say, using these handles than using these. Notice how, as I'm playing around with the old style splines, how it really just affects everything very drastic, where this one is a lot more flexible, it's a lot easier to use. Now, you still can use constraints and dimensions to kind of fully define the spline. And maybe we should do something on splines at another point. I did do a video on curvature that would definitely be filling in very well with this here. So search for that live stream. But these, even if you don't use splines very often, you will find that the old style spline, I mean, it's still, it's not like one should replace the other, but you will definitely find that this one is a lot easier to kind of control. I would say this is going to be my probably new favorite way to define splines. Another little trick that I don't know if it's new or not, if you click on a spline, you can turn on curvature comp over here in the sketch palettes, and that will give you, see the bottom of it is still the spline, but it will give you this direction here that will show you the curvature of this. You can actually control kind of like how precise you want it in here, so you can play around with depending on what you're working with. What this does, this curvature comp, the top line up here, it gives you an idea about the flow of the spline. It's not gonna affect anything. Like as soon as you hit OK, you will still only get the bottom edge. It's more a display on the screen. If I turn it on for the bottom ones, I just click on the spline and over here turn it on, you will see that if I hit OK, actually I'm gonna turn it on for that spline. So here you have this spline here. It looks pretty good, but notice what happens when I turn it on. I actually kind of like have an overlap over here. What will actually mean that curvature on the spline is not smooth. And when I turn it off, you can it's hard to see, but maybe if I make it a little bit worse, you can see we have two curves that are kind of like going in opposite direction. So when I turn it back on, you can see how they kind of like overlap. That's what curvature comp does. Like I said, I'm actually not sure if that's a new feature or not. Maybe I didn't know about it. But turning curvature comp on just gives you a better idea about what your spline does. And again, I did a video on a live stream on these curvatures, and the comp here just gives you a better idea about how smooth your splines are. Okay. And there was one other thing I was going to tell you about these curvature splines here. So for the curve for the dang, now I don't remember what I was going to say about this. I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens, huh? I'm getting old, man. All right, I'm gonna have to come back on that. That's gonna bother the heck out of me. What the heck did I want to tell you about this curvature comp here? All right, I'm getting old, man. I can't remember what that was. I gotta take better notes in here. Let me just see. I can't believe that I can't remember that. When you create that curvature spline. Oh yeah. Now I know what it is. When you create these splines in here, you're looking at them. You're thinking, all right, that is all good and that looks good. But be aware when you create them. So let me create another one. When you create these control point splines, you get an option over here to choose between what is called a 5 degree or a 3 degree. Now 5 degree is the most normal, and it comes to when you pull these different handles how that works. But the 3 degrees in here is how this is normally worked if you're using T-splines and you're using the same kind of function where you can pull. In T-splines you can turn on something kind of the same tools to drag your T-spline geometry. That is a 3-point. Default is 5. That's probably what you need. But if you're ever doing it inside a T-spline, you're pulling the surfaces by kind of dragging these handles, then that is actually a free point. All right, enough of that. Enough of splines. Sorry if that got a little confusing. They have also done a couple of other nice little things in here. If I go in and sketch a line, let's sketch something up here. Good old shape. And this is not new. We get Fusion will automatically try to set some constraints down here. You can, of course, add your own constraints. So if I select these two lines here, we could make a perpendicular constraint between those. We could choose to say we want to create a parallel relationship between this line and this line. Whoops. Then maybe we do parallel between this line and this line, for example. We could do equal. This is not new. But what is new that they have added that I think a lot of people is going to like is that if you ever wonder what these constraints are, you're getting somebody else's model and you're like, what the heck is this? If you hold down your left mouse button for a little while, it will actually show up here and say what that constraint is. So perpendicular constraint, hold down left mouse button for 2 seconds and it'll come up here and say parallel constraint. So instead of just left clicking on it, hold down your left mouse button, it'll come up and say the horizontal constraint. I think that is kind of nice. They have, of course, also done a bunch of new things to the generative design workshop. I'm gonna do a generative design live stream soon, so I will get into some of the specifics in there. I want to try to keep this one a little bit short because what I want to show you next is, I think, super exciting, and that is a whole new preview of the new interface that they are working on. So I hope this is useful. I'm kind of losing my breath. I'm getting all excited about this. Let me show you this. Let me just exit out of this. Don't have to save this. So hopefully you know that if you go up and click on your name, go to preferences, that we have the preview section in here where this is kind of like beta and other types of software. If you ever done any kind of beta stuff, inside of Fusion, you don't have to sign up for beta. I've worked with other packages where you had kind of had to sign up, and there was an NDA. You couldn't share anything you're seeing in there. That's not how it is in Fusion. You just go up and click on your name, go into preferences, and the last one over here to the left, preview. You can check some of the different things out in here. The new thing in here is UI preview. Now you have to hit OK to it, and then you actually have to restart Fusion so that it works. Let me just exit out of Fusion here because this is not a cooking show. Nothing is prepared. And let me just fire up Fusion again here for that to take place. Now, what that is happening gives me a chance to just talk 2 seconds about this. So this is something the team have been working on, but it's kind of super exciting, I think. Is there a better way? I know somebody right now say, oh, not another change to Fusion. But it comes down to, is there a better way to do menus? Drop-down menus, the way this kind of like have worked, it's kind of the same way we did it in 1990 for certain of this. So is there a better way? Well, the development team have been working hard, and this is they're working on this, and this is gonna get better. This is gonna change, but you now have an option to go in and play with this, and I'm definitely super excited. So what has really changed maybe is fair enough to ask yourself here. In here you drop down, you will see that this is not called model anymore. It's called design. If I click on that, you will actually see this list has gotten a little bit shorter. You're like, well, wait a minute. We don't take anything away. Nothing has been taken away, but what have happened is that these menus have become more flexible to what you're actually trying to do. So in design mode, you now have solid. They have renamed paths to surface. Thank you. That's one of my things, or my wishes. Not me who did it by any means. Sheet metal, assembly, and tools are in here. So this means you can click up here and you can switch between the different environments, the different tools within design. So instead, in the old interface where you had model and you had sheet metal and you kind of like switched over here, they have made these environments more specific to what you're trying to do in that environment. So if you're in the model environment, you might want to switch to surfaces, you might want to switch to sheet metal and going back and forth. So they've done that, what is super nice. You will also see that we have gotten a little bit more menus over here, and that is because that when we switch, let's create a sketch, select the front face. Notice how the menus all now became sketch related, and not only do we have the options over here on the sketch palette, but they have moved the constraints over to here, because this is actually where maybe the constraint made sense. They were over here, and they have also changed this menu to being longer. And again, we're getting into the whole thing we talked about before, customizing the different menus. But now you're not just in the model environment and have sketch tools. Now you can go in here and you can sketch in here, do whatever you kind of want. And whoops, we gotta slow it up. And when you're done with this, hit Q for press pull. You will now see that when we click here, we are now in and have the different tools you might need for that. So the menu in here will change depending on where you are. So these menus will now be effective to that. I think that is super cool. This is definitely something to take a look at. Now again, just like the custom keys, shortcut keys, this is the first kind of bite of this. but this is, I like this, that the menus are reacting depending on where you are and not just static sitting up here doing nothing. A little added bonus with this in this environment, if you want to check it out. What you normally, we talked about the S key before, that whatever you have in your S key is now also, if you right click, is actually now also displayed in the right mouse button key. So now whatever you customize in the S key, you could actually say you're also customizing for the right key down here. So I wanted to show you this. Now again, to get rid of this menu, if you're in here, you got to do the same thing as before. You got to go click on your name, preferences, and go to preview, turn this off, and then hit OK, and you got to restart Fusion again to be able to get into this and kind of like get this laid out the way that you're used to. So Fusion shuts down and fire Fusion back up again, and you should be back into the normal. That, friends, was 30 minutes. I feel a little rusty, been out for a week or so. But I hope there was some good stuff in here. I hope this was useful. A little bit deeper dive than Bryce, Aaron's, and Marty's video 5 minutes. I hope that I didn't just mumble for that. Shortcut keys, something custom shortcut keys, something to get into. I'm gonna try a new setup on Thursday, and I'm gonna show you my favorite ones. Some really neat functions in there. That whole spline thing is definitely, now I'm gonna have to do a live stream on splines because that's something we're gonna talk about. What else did we talk about? We talked about how you can now get the name of the constraints by holding down your left mouse button on the constraints, and they will actually show up with the real name in it. And then, of course, I think my favorite, this new menu that is now in preview. Definitely something to check out. See, and let me know in the comments area how you like it. that was today's live stream. I'm a big fan of these updates. I just looked before I went on today. I think there's like 19 what's new live stream videos, what means that the development team are definitely not taking the summer off. These guys are developing things all the time. It is absolutely, I think it's awesome. You know, trying to really create a piece of software that fits to what you guys need to do it. That is definitely their goal. So if you like this, thumbs up. If you don't, be honest, thumbs down. I want you to be honest, and definitely don't hesitate. I love your feedback down in the comments area. In the description area, you'll find my email address if you have any future topics you would like to see, and of course also all the other stuff you can do there. Download the free CNC Handbook and learn more about different things. Let's connect on all the different formats. That's it. YouTube, Facebook, really appreciate you taking the time. We're gonna end the live stream right here. Until the next time, that will be tomorrow, same time, same channel. I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you so much, folks. And it's not ending.